Mhm. So, thank you first and foremost for inviting me and to be able to share what we started last year in this project, Net4Citis. So NILU is just one of the 16 partners of this project, where Oslo has a pivotal role as a pilot city. So Net4Citis is aiming to help the realization of the EU Green Deal zero pollution vision for 2050 by focusing on the monitoring of air pollution and noise, by providing scientific evidence of the pollution levels across European cities and its potential impact on health. And you can see in the map the different cities that we have as pilot, 11. You see the different geographical locations, so we can also imagine the differences and complexities of the issues in every single city. In the case of Oslo, for example, it is an interesting city, not just one of the Nordic cities, being a Nordic city, but obviously has winter-related issues with our solar tire that you talked in the morning about. It's also, of course, being the fleet being so electrified, what is actually the impact considering other fleets across Europe. So we focus on areas where monitoring is scarce. So we want to focus on noise, so not just on air quality, but on noise, because it's also part of the zero pollution strategy. And we want to focus on air quality, and in particular, the pollutants of the emergent concern, as we also talked about, and the directive is very clear that we should start monitoring. That is ultrafine ammonia and black out. So this is our focus. And how is that we are going to expand the monitoring networks at each one of these cities. And we are expanding, so we are bringing new monitoring to tackle these pollutants, but we're doing it with the cities. So we talk with the stakeholders and we try to understand which sites are going to be chosen and expanded. And we also we very much focus on traffic, but not only vehicular traffic. We also will have sites at harbors and airports. Katrina talked also a lot about this, how these are important sources of especially ultrafine. So this, for example, also I think is an interesting aspect to touch for them. Barcelona is the only city that has actually a monitoring network for noise that the rest of the cities do not have. So it's also good to see different approaches to different problems. How then can we use this knowledge across? And then in the end, we want, of course, with the knowledge we get from this project, we want to support you on the implementation of effective policy in terms of transport. I don't think I need to talk much about the health impacts of particles, as largely discussed in the previous presentation. But I want to talk about the new directive and how the levels have been changing from this nice diagram here. You see for coarse and fine particulate matter, where our values that are, you can use the mouse instead. Yeah, it's better for the people at home also. Yeah. Okay, so you'll see in this diagram, you see the darker blue, so is the levels that are now defined in the current directive. In a bit lighter blue, the ones with the revised directive, and in lighter blue, the ones from WHO guidelines. So you can see that the new directive is closer to WHO, but still further, as we discussed at lunchtime, probably 5 will be background levels in many places in Norway. So it's important to see that, okay, we're getting closer, but we still have to consider these levels, because I show here the data for 2022 for Norway. With the new levels, limit values, we will start having more exceedances. So we really need to think, what can we do to curb those exceedances? So, and here, of course, we're talking, so all the PM is all about what stays in our upper part of our respiratory system. Again, largely discussed in the presentation before. Another thing that I wanted to, so we talked about the emerging pollutants of emerging concern that the directive discusses, and we want to focus on the black carbon concentrations that clear has health impact, impacts our health. And also it could be a good indicator if the sources are fossil fuel combustion or wood burning. In terms of ammonia down here, though the directive does not say to measure in urban centers, only in rural super sites, the research shows actually that looking at this box plots, you'll see in the dark gray are traffic sites where they're measuring monthly values of ammonia. And you see that they are clearly standing out compared to, for example, mountain sites. So the science is telling you that also the trend here, you can see it's going up for ammonia. Of course, this will have then also repercussion in secondary pollution of and contributing to PM 2.5. So again, this project will show how much ammonia we have in our cities. Then I will not elongate anymore on the ultrafines. You've got your amazing lecture. But once again, just to show that how important this project it is, we're going to have at least 33 sites measuring the same way ammonia, black carbon, and ultrafine. So it's going to be a good representation geographically with the different sources, etc. So it's, I think we will take really good stock from this data in the end. How will Net4Citis evolve? We started last year with a lot of preparation where we sit with city, with the municipalities. We sit with other stakeholders that will be of interest for the cities. We discuss which sites would be chosen and how we will implement this monitoring and what and continue these conversations with the stakeholders. So we started now the so-called implementation phase, where we have our monitoring implementation in place. So we got all the instrumentation, we have everything in place, so we're ready to switch on the button. Eventually, we will do a source apportionment with using measurements, but also modeling, so understand what is the contribution, the different source contribution. Of course, we will analyze a lot of the data, and we will have some campaigns, specific campaigns for specific testing of vehicle emissions, for example. We also gonna have, we start already some brainstorming of how we will disseminate and make our outputs available. So what the stakeholders, the users need, because of course, what I need as a researcher is not the same thing as a policymaker needs. And in the end, we hope to transfer fully this knowledge and think about how can we move forward with the project in terms of exploitation. Ideally, we will have 3 sites in each city. I think, yeah, that's the minimum. And there will be 1 site that will have there will be more measurements. So there will be online measurements of ultrafine particles, but 2 instruments. One is to measure from 10 nanometers to 2.5 micrometers, so full range. And the 10 is because it's what is defined in the directive. And then we will have what they call the lung depository surface area. So it's really to mimic the alveoli. So just a smaller range of this large ultrafine range that we are considering. And we also going to have black carbon. And this will run online 24/7 for 2+ years. We will also have online measuring noise and noise measurements, so with microphones with different decibels and a lot of things that I do not understand because I'm not an expert. And also traffic counters where we count not the vehicles, but we can also assess their speed, etc. This will run also online 24/7 for 2+ years. And then we have offline measurements for 1 year where we use sampling passive samplers for ammonia. And we have this latest thing that is a canister that is measuring only 1 hour a month because it's extremely expensive. And that hour is a rush hour time, and it will measure all sort of compounds, but so volatile organic compounds, nitrous nitric acid, yeah, no, NO2, N2O. So we'll give, we hope, an interesting footprint of a rush hour. For us, especially, learning about VOCs. For other cities is, for example, to understand what is the ozone regime of these cities. Yeah. So this is a little flash what has been happening. Implementation in the different cities of the noise and at different transportation hubs and different cities, including here. This is Alma, where we made our first canister sample. We were in LinkedIn, so it's very nice to see that it's nicely working and we can start our measurements. So for Oslo, this is what it looks like. We chose after some discussion, and we end up with 3 sites. We have our powerhouse, Alna, SX. So it's where we have most of the instrumentation running because it's highly trafficked and very interesting for us to understand this site. Then we have Kirkeveien, where it's less trafficked, obviously, it's more a urban setup. And then we have Hjertnes, where we hoped to understand a little bit more the impact of the harbor in the surrounding area. So here I put, you can see in green whatever is already in place and and already online. In the case of the passive samplers and the sample of the canister samples, they will start tomorrow. So we're ready to go, and whatever is in yellow, it's ready to be deployed. I think there's some electric things that we still need to fix.
Yeah, I have a date for somebody in a Snickerbrooks on Thursday.
Perfect. So we're hoping that by the end of April, we have everything going. And you can see that in the traffic counters, we do not have anything because they haven't yet arrived. They have so these are new instrumentation. So they're coming hopefully before July, and we're having that data. So a quick sneak peek of what is happening. We already have, is from the monitoring of noise. This one is Hjertnes, and this is Kirkeveien. And you might not understand from this mess of noise, but the idea is that all the cities are here, whatever is online, you see here. So there's a huge difference between the cities. And Hjertnes is a little bit below 80, and then Kirkeveien around 60. So you can start to see the differences between the sites. And also you can have the data on that smaller fraction of the ultrafine, where you see once again in green, you see Hjertnes, and in yellow, Kirkeveien. So clearly you see the night period here, and then during the day, things are happening. So this is going to be really interesting. At the moment, this is only on the instrument providers, but what we are hoping is that soon we will make it available. Another thing that we are planning for Oslo, we hope that this will happen, is having remote sensing campaign. In our stakeholder workshop, we have envisioned something different that will be to use the BOM tool to measure them downwards, the plumes, but with the need of reading the license plates, it became too cumbersome, and we stopped that idea. But we found another company has contacted us and made this a bit more simpler setup that we actually can use in the city. It's more easy without stopping the whole road to mount. So the idea is that the cars pass, you have a record of the car, which car, without reading any license plates, and then you measure that at the time where the car passed, and then what is the plume, the plume that remains, and you can know which kind of compounds are there. So it can be really interesting. It's not yet set in stone, but we are hoping for this to happen. Then we will discuss further. In terms of source apportionment, we will do the source apportionment on the black carbon measurements to know which is actually due to fossil fuel combustion, and what is wood burning. Very important for us. And EarthSense, one of our partners, will do the modeling for PM2.5 and NOx using emissions and, of course, the data that we collect in the Net4Citis project. We also plan to do noise propagation modeling. Of course, we use the idea is to use NOSOS. So the top is what is described in the directive, noise directive. It has to be done. But the idea now is that we can model this and then validate our results by using our measurements, using metrology, but also see what is the relation with the different pollutants. We had a first take of the modeling, noise modeling, just the traffic at NILU. So we have a map for whole Norway using real-time traffic and meteorological data. You can see in the bottom here for Oslo, and we took what I call the triangle from hell, NOx. And we tried to compare actually to what Statens vegvesen has produced also, that is public. And we can say that we are close. But there are, of course, some differences, but it's probably due to the input data. So we really would be excited to discuss further on this. Most interesting is that we can have the measurements to compare with our model. Also, Statens vegvesen is interested, of course. And we really want to investigate the unique features of Norway, so the studded tires and the electric vehicle share, as I said, but also, at least personally, I've learned that snow enhances the noise. So very interested to know when we have snow coverage, how much impact there is in terms of noise. So we collect our data at NILU, develop a database, so everything comes there, so it can be used by the different users, so researchers and general public or policymakers. And this we call a Net4Citis studio. I think I'm still okay with time, right? I'm I know. So we had our first reflections at our consortium meeting a couple of weeks ago. And of course, again, we are just a bunch of researchers that really like data. But we try to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and try to see which kind of content could be important to provide. So we talk a lot about, of course, how we show it graphically, the information, so graphs, indicators, but also fact sheets could be really interesting, and obviously showing the real-time data, but also maybe policy briefs and some guidance documentation because again, we are measuring across so many different cities, and within the city, different locations that we could provide a really good sense of potential guidance for the measurements. And then what we don't want is to probably reinvent the wheel. There's too many things out there that no one, the project is over and no one uses anymore. We are a little bit afraid of it, of course. So we would like to think a bit further. How can we complement, for example, thinking about what Miljödirektoratet actually already has in place, that is such a vast amount of information that you can get. So how can we complement and not just do the same thing? No one will come to us, they will come to Miljödirektoratet first. So, and also how do we gather the feedback? Because we will have more workshops that we try to open up to anyone, but we're really targeting our stakeholders to discuss what can we do for this to support you and support your strategy for zero pollution. So we would like to hear your views about what is relevant to have in a platform of information. Which design aspects should we consider? Because once again, it has to be something enticing and exciting. And then what kind of synergy we should consider with existing platforms, as I said, like, for example, the one we have at Miljödirektoratet here, at least in Norway. So with that, I will leave this, but just thank you, because I want to create discussion. So if you need anything, please don't hesitate to contact me. And I would like to thank first and foremost to Oslo Kommune and Åsne in particular, because she's really trying to help us as much. And Statens vegvesen for the accelerometer to measure black carbon, because without it, we would not have measurements of black carbon So I really thank you, and please subscribe to our newsletter, visit our website, and any questions I'm happy to take.
Thank you, Joanna. Are there any questions? Yeah. It's one question from Bruce, or you can research.
Yeah.
Bruce Rolstad-Demby from the Meteorological Institute. I'm going to ask a nice question. It's okay. Now, I was wondering, because it seemed like a couple of these measurements you were doing were at a fairly high temporal level. So the nanoparticle measurement, they were 1 minute or less or something?
Yeah, so it's very, we will average it to an hour, but then depending on the instrumentation, it can be very high, high resolution data.
Yeah, and you're measuring some plumes behind cars or vehicles as well. But I was wondering if you're going to look at individual types like buses, trucks, cars, to see their contribution to it, because coming from the road dust perspective, buses, trucks, big emitters of suspension, cars much less. And I was wondering if that sort of information would come out of this or not, or you're just concentrating on these ammonia and UFPs and so on.
No, we try to focus on because then exhaust versus non-exhaust is for us what.
Because you also have traffic counts, which are individual car levels.
Yes.
I thought there was already a counter out there on E6, but maybe
we're getting it for free.
But it would be very interesting to see that sort of result from my point of view.
So I think also one of the ideas of collocating many of this instrumentation is to get as much information as we can, and we really press the issue that we need to understand this with suspension. So this exhaust versus non-exhaust, that is so important for us, and it's quite unique because the other cities don't have this issue as we have. So we try to really target that indeed.
Any other questions in the chat? You don't see me? No? I was just wondering about the noise measurements.
Mhm.
So you're measuring noise at the stations.
Yep.
And you're also calculating maps.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, based on the measurements.
So
Or how are you
first
doing?
is going to just
Okay.
use the here. The idea is that we just calculate, I guess, as you calculate based on this NOSOS, because you have to do that for the directive. So we use the information, the traffic information, and then the meteorological and the metrology to do the simulations. What we want now to use the instrumentation is to see, of course, to validate if the model is doing the right, is giving us the right results, and try to understand, if not, why are we not getting the right results. So it's mostly a validation, because what's okay from our noise partners in Spain, Tecnalia. So what they claim is that there's not enough validation of this model, and in particular, they take very average situations. As I said, they don't consider the sudden tires, or so. These are the things that we could, of course, develop the methodology further to include things that we, of course, that in our situation are important to consider when calculating noise level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because our maps that we have published are used, I think, yeah, you pointed it out that they use the Nord 2000 method, and you have used Knossos. We have also used Knossos, but only for some of the calculations. So it's just interesting to see the differences, and I know some in Statens vegvesen have worked with it as well. So it's just interesting to compare. Any other questions or? Yeah, one more.
Yeah, hi, Petra Medin from Ruter, Public Transit in Oslo. Just an invitation to reach out if you need any information about the bus routes. I saw some of the measurement stations, for example, the City line are quite heavily trafficked by bus routes. So, and also just a reminder that even though we have electric buses, they have an auxiliary heater burning biodiesel. So you might see some emissions in the cold winter
In those
days.
canister samples.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I think
thank
we'll
you.
move on to the
And,
program. But
maybe-
you will get a bicycle repair kit.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
Thank
just
you.
actually I biked here, so it was great. And
Yeah.
maybe just another thing. I hope we can come in next year to show the results
Absolutely.
of the
Yes.
the project.
We will be very interesting. Yeah. So thank you.